Sean Franklin
and Nicole Smith
from Blood and Iron Martial Arts.
Here today to talk to you about how to deal with the doubly fighter.
So, what do we mean by a doubly fighter?
What we mean are those fighters that tend to mean a lot of double hits, meaning fighters that are in exchanges that land strikes at exactly the same time.
Now, naturally this can happen due to plain dumb luck, but in the vast majority of cases, it's because the fighters are just focused on hitting each other and not focused on keeping themselves safe.
Now, everyone makes mistakes, but we're talking about the fighters that are using their armor as their protection rather than their sword. And this can be really frustrating when you come across it.
First things first, before looking at the behavior of others, have a look at yourself first.
Rather than shrug off all those doubles in competition and in your training, keep track of them. You may be having them more often than you think.
And if you seem to have double problems no matter who you fight, well, I think we know what the common element in this scenario is.
Before engaging the doubly fighter, you should know what you're up against.
This is easy if you know who they are, or you've seen them fight before. You don't always have that luxury.
Aside from just going in and doubling a couple of times, you can use your opponent's body language and probing attacks to see what you're up against.
One thing to look for is twitchy behavior. If you're facing someone who looks like this, you can be fairly certain that no matter what you do, they're just going to swing and try and hit you.
The other thing you can try is throwing a small attack out of measure. Now, if your opponent just swings for your body and it doesn't address your weapon, it's a pretty good indication that they'll do the exact same thing in measure. For those of you that study the German tradition, you will immediately come to the conclusion that master cuts must be the answer.
This is an awesome solution to deal with the problem.
If you can.
These devices are difficult to execute, require a lot of training, and we have to face the fact that we're really not as good at them as we think we are.
If you can pull this off, by all means do it. But it requires a level of training that a video series on YouTube channel is just not equipped to provide.
Another way to deal with this is to draw the opponent out and then hit them while they're swinging.
Naturally, when doing this, you don't want to be putting your body in a compromising position.
A similar tactic is to draw their blade out so you can engage it.
Normally, you would expect them to meet your weapon when you throw an attack directly at them.
However, if they have completely no sense of self-preservation, you might have to be even more aggressive about getting that blade contact.
One of the other ways to deal with a doubly fighter is to engage them in a grapple.
I don't care how crazy you are, you're not hitting me with that weapon.
One piece of advice, I would consider the size of your opponent before engaging them in the grapple. This may not be your best option. Everyone's going to have their own definition of what a doubly fighter is, and everyone's going to have bad days.
No matter what your opponent's doing, you're always trying to keep yourself safe. And if your opponent is not trying to keep themselves safe, well, you probably have a little extra work cut out for you.
Facing someone in a competition, you'll have little choice but to deal with them. But in your free sparring, you do have the choice of being a little more discerning in who your partners are.
If it's someone you fight frequently, and you don't feel they're being very respectful of the sword, you should probably let them know and give them some feedback. And they're probably not going to improve unless they're made aware of it.
And remember, if you're not going to put in the training, you're not going to get the results.